Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to start with asking you a question. What determines who is going to be the one who makes the next big disruptive change? What do you think? Do you think it's your IQ, your ability, your experience? I'll leave you think about this, as I talk about what is disruptive change today. So what is disruptive change? For me, I work in the fintech space. I work in an area in which I oversee and supervise the development of blockchain projects. And over the past 10 years, I've worked on IT security, on big data and clouds, and now before moving on to blockchain. So I'm not going to talk to you about blockchain. Maybe some of you may not know what it really means. But I'm sure all of you have heard the hype about what blockchain is all about, and I'm sure all of you have heard about Bitcoin, right? Yeah. So today, I'm not going to tell you about how blockchain works, but why? Why is blockchain a hype, and why is Bitcoin a hype? Let's go back a little bit and look at the history of evolution of computers. So we know that from some long time ago, just a couple of decades, there were people who were doing manual switchboards, there are people who were manual typists, but that changed with the coming of computers. So with computers, it has increased the efficiency of business processes, has increased and changed the way businesses have worked. And then come the 90s, this system have evolved into larger systems in which both production, sales, distributions, and all kinds of business processes became integrated into one system. So companies like Dell and Amazon became extremely successful, starting from a small company, because they were so efficient in their supply chain. They were able to move their products from supplier to their production to their customers at a lower cost than other people. But then there's just one problem. What is the one problem? Right? It's the problem of being one. The problem of being one centralized system. And why is that a problem? It's because the success of these companies rely entirely on the one single entity. And in fact, the profit of these companies really relied on that one single entity, and the entire ecosystem has to trust the one single system to work effectively all the time. Yeah. So coming back to my topic about blockchain. So why is blockchain so important, and why is blockchain changing the world? So if you look at our history has told us that when we put our entire trust into just one single person or one small group of people, sometimes things can go wrong. And also society has shown us many, many situations about that before. And also even the internet itself evolved and became truly robust because it is a decentralized system. So what is Bitcoin changing? It is actually changing the way we work. So Bitcoin started with the idea of, can I actually build an entire digital currency without the need of a centralized authority, without the need of a centralized banking system? So the idea of a centralized banking, a centralized government behind a currency is in fact more than thousands of years. It's almost more than 4,000 years old. So with just 9 years, Bitcoin has actually changed. Of course, it went through a lot of revisions, it went through a lot of hard work to prove itself, but in a short amount of time, Bitcoin has proved that it is possible to actually create an entire currency and system that works without a central bank and central government behind it. So in this way, we see that within a very short amount of time, we see a tremendous disruption in the technology that's been around for thousands of years. So if we were to ask ourselves, what is, who is going to make the next big disruptive change? So today, I'm not going to stop here and tell you that Bitcoin is great or blockchain is great. In fact, blockchain has taken that single idea, that simple idea, to one step greater, because blockchain nowadays is doing not just a decentralized currency, it's in fact is implementing smart contracts in which you can put on the internet, you can put out in the world a digital contract that represents transactions between people. It allows people to connect, and it allows people to do business in a way that has never been done before. So these smart contracts have started to replace the manual, very, very tedious process that involves a lot of manpower when different companies have to actually check the transactions. So it involves a lot of human effort, it involves a lot of trust, and especially in a situation if those businesses and transactions crosses different borders between companies and different borders between countries. But I'm not going to stop here and tell you just about why blockchain is disruptive. Because what does this actually mean to all of us? It means that disruption will come. In an age where we see that the only thing that doesn't change is that things are always changing. In such an age, we see that disruption will come to you, to all of you. It means that the things that you study, it means that your job, your career, and even your expectations will be disrupted. So maybe I sense some pessimism. Is the thing that I'm studying, is it really right? Is it the right thing to study? And if you look at jobs in the past, right, there were many jobs that became disrupted, and there were even jobs that became completely obsolete. For example, typists, or switchboard operators. Some jobs that existed, just a few decades ago have completely disappeared from society today. So what does it mean for all of us? So I believe that the nature of the job, right, whether you're a lawyer, an engineer, a doctor, all of these things can change and be disrupted, but human beings will never be obsolete. So it means that we as people who have that purpose and who have that passion and determination and creativity will definitely make a change and continue to remain very important to all the things that we do today. So I believe that in the future, the jobs will look very different in this new digital economy. However, it means that we also have to become the people who will redesign the way people work, and will redesign the way people interact, and redesign the new roles and the new kind of jobs that will exist in the future. Just like how blockchain started, Bitcoin started with just a simple idea. Can I actually change and remove the trust, from a central banking system into one that is completely decentralized and doesn't depend on one single entity? So in the same way, such changes will continue to happen. But if we look at change, we see that change always starts from one person. It starts from one individual, a special individual. who has the heart and who has the passion and the clear purpose to drive that change. So for me as well, I took a step, recently, and I changed my job, and I wanted to make an impact. So, I started to work for a startup to make an impact because I wanted to change the way the financial industry is working. So I started to work in a company which is developing a solution that will help trade financing in third world countries, in Africa. So because the current banking system in Africa is different from advanced countries, so they are not able to provide affordable credit, to all the small companies that are trying to do their businesses. So this becomes a very big hinder and blockage to how businesses and commerce can actually develop in that country. So we are using blockchain to provide trusted visibility of business transactions, credit history, and credit rating so that we can actually create, with new technology, better credit for these companies and hope that in the long term it will help to improve the individual countries and the entire continent. And also, on a personal note, I started to become more aware of our environment, just like a previous speaker. Truly in Singapore, you might think, that in Singapore, wow, Singapore is a really green and clean country, right? Why do we really care so much environment? But did you know that in Singapore, with our 6 million population, we have almost 1 out of 100 people that are cleaning. We have almost more than 70,000 people cleaning the entire nation. But then I thought to myself, is Singapore really clean and green just because of the many people that are cleaning up our country? Or is it because of the heavy fines that's putting us and stopping us from truly throwing litters? So I really hope to be in a country, to be in a place where all of us will take pride in truly being a clean country, to take pride to really make a better environment for the future. So I started this movement recently, to make awareness so that we will really, it's called Providence Community Service, so that all of us together, we will really have cleaner environment, and it starts from our thoughts and from our actions. So in the process of discovering, how can I make this happen? How can I actually encourage more people to really change our thoughts and behavior at the fundamental level? So starting from that one single purpose and thought, I got the opportunity to meet many groups across the world that are really interested in environment. And I came to learn, that even in Singapore, even in a clean country, we have a clean country waste problem. So even if we throw litter, and even if we throw litter in the proper place, in the rubbish bin, there are many problems associated with how that waste goes into the entire waste system, into the waste life cycle, and how it ends up in the incinerator and landfills. And all of these are environmental issues and health issues associated with it. And then I started to collaborate with this group called Let's Do It. It is a worldwide movement that wants to really encourage and engage 5% of the entire world population in the largest civil action ever in human history to clean up our environment. If you think about that, 5% of 6 billion people is a tremendous amount of people. But I've seen how people have that passion to actually do this. They have been around for about 10 years, and they have made, I've seen countries that actually even move 10% or more of the country populations to clean up together. And I'm talking about places where they have political instability, some places at war. And I've talked to a person who actually traveled for 1 month, moving from one country to another country to a third country, just to join an environmental conference. Even though he comes from a place where his home country is a war zone, but he saw the need to change his country and get rid of all the waste and trash. So he was willing to travel because of visa issues. He had to travel to one country, wait for his visa, wait for 3 weeks to get approval, move to another country, and finally attend the environmental conference so that he can learn how he can bring that knowledge back to his home country and change his people. So today, as we talk about disruptive change, what is the most fundamental thing about change? It is not so much about your results or your IQ, but I believe fundamentally it starts from your heart and from your thoughts. And if you have the heart and thoughts to make a change, then on your path, you might face difficulties, you might face challenges. But those challenges will become opportunities, and I hope all of you will become the people who will initiate the change. Rather than being disrupted, become the people who will create the disruptive change. So today, I hope all of you, starting from today, will think about how you will become the initiator of change. Thank you.